I stole from my dying grandfather. There, I said it. I took money straight out of his house, out of his life, while he was lying in bed with tubes in his arms and oxygen hissing from a machine. And the worst part? No one ever found out. That's what eats me alive at night. Not that I got caught, not that I faced justice, but that I didn't. I'm 32 now. This happened when I was 25. At the time, I was broke, like eating ramen 3 nights in a row broke. I had student loans piling up, a car that barely ran, and a job at a retail store that paid me just enough to not starve, but never enough to actually live. My grandfather, though, he had money. Not private jet money, but the kind of quiet, old man savings that came from a lifetime of working construction, buying property, and stashing cash in envelopes just in case. Everyone in the family knew he was careful with money, but what most people didn't know is why false sides, Chalzuri, drive-by, I buy way how my chalvai hybrid giozai and by ne had by Talbray tucked away. It started by accident. One afternoon, my mom asked me to drop off groceries at his house. He'd been sick for a while, lung problems mostly, and it was getting harder for him to get around. When I got there, he was napping in his chair. I put the groceries in the kitchen, and while I was looking for a place to stash them, I opened a drawer. That's when I saw it. An envelope. Thick. Heavy. Curiosity got the better of me. I peeked inside. Cash. Stacks of 20s, 50s, even hundreds. At least a few thousand, sitting there like it was nothing. I froze. My heart pounded in my ears. I shoved it back and closed the drawer like it had burned me. But after that day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Here's the part that makes me sound pathetic. I wasn't just broke, I was drowning. I'd just gotten an eviction notice. My credit card was maxed. I had no backup plan. And meanwhile, my grandfather, who barely left the house anymore, had literal piles of cash lying around in drawers. The thought wouldn't leave my head. He wouldn't miss a little. He doesn't even use it. He's going to die soon anyway. That's how it started, with excuses. A week later, I was back at his house, helping clean. He asked me to get him a blanket from the bedroom, and when I walked past that drawer, Agsta I naktis ardar. I stopped. I opened it, pulled out the envelope. My hands were shaking so badly I thought I'd drop it. I only took $200, just a couple bills, just enough to buy groceries and keep the lights on for another month. I told myself it was survival. I told myself I'd pay it back someday. But deep down, I knew once I started, I wasn't going to stop. It turned into a routine. Whenever I went over to check on him, I'd find a reason to be alone in that room. I'd slide open the drawer, take a little, never enough to notice, never the whole thing, and pocket it. Sometimes it was $20, sometimes a few hundred. Each time I told myself it was the last time. But each time I went back. And the sickest part? No one suspected a thing. They thought I was the helpful granddaughter, the one always running errands, always dropping by, but I wasn't helping. I was stealing. I need to pause here, because if you're still watching this, I really want to know, what would you have done? If you were broke, desperate, and you found cash just sitting there, would you have walked away? Or would you have done what I did? Drop it in the comments, because I swear I've argued both sides of this in my head 1,000,000 times. One night, I came over and he was worse. His breathing was shallow. His hands were trembling. He asked me to sit with him, and we talked for a while. Out of nowhere, he said, "You've always been so good to me, so trustworthy. I don't worry when you're around." I nearly choked, because at that very moment, my purse had 400 in it that I'd stolen from him the week before. He fell asleep holding my hand. And I sat there, tears streaming down my face, knowing I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. He passed away 2 months later, peacefully in his sleep. At the funeral, people hugged me, told me what a wonderful granddaughter I'd been, how proud he was of me. And I smiled. I nodded. I let them believe it. No one ever knew. Not my mom, not my aunts, not anyone. They divided up his estate later, the house, the savings account, the life insurance. Everyone got their share. Meanwhile, I was sitting there knowing I'd already taken mine, in secret, years before. It's been 7 years now, and the guilt hasn't faded. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with his voice in my head. "You've always been so trustworthy." And I wonder if in those last months he knew. If maybe he noticed the money was disappearing, but didn't say anything because he loved me too much to call me out. That thought haunts me more than anything. By the way, if you're still here, hit that like button. It helps. And seriously, tell me in the comments, was I a thief, plain and simple, or was I just desperate? Because I've lived in the gray space between those answers for years. Here's the messy truth. I used that money to survive. It kept me from being homeless. It got me through some of the darkest years of my life. But it also changed me. Because now, whenever someone trusts me, I second-guess myself. Whenever I see cash, I think about that drawer. Whenever my mom talks about how proud Grandpa would be of me, I want to scream. I got away with it. But getting away with it doesn't mean you're free. Sometimes it means you're trapped forever. Last month, my mom handed me something. She'd been cleaning out old boxes and found a note my grandfather had written before he died. It was addressed to me. It said, "I always knew you were struggling. I wanted you to know, whatever you needed, I would have given it to you. You only had to ask." I broke down because he was right. If I'd asked, he would have helped me. But I didn't ask. I stole. And maybe the cruelest part of this confession is that the one person who could have forgiven me is gone. So yeah. I stole money from my dying grandfather. No one ever found out. And I don't regret needing the money. I regret becoming the kind of person who took it.